Welcome to the Sisterhood of the Rose podcast. I'm Lily.
And I'm Jess.
And we're here to lead you into deeper spiritual embodiment.
What does it mean to be spiritual and to live a soul-led life? We're going to dive deep into how we navigate our own journeys and get into the realness of it all.
We created this podcast for you to step into empowerment and become the leader in your life.
We invite you to walk this path with us. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Jess and I have a very, very, very special guest today. Our friend, Kerry Ferber, is here with us on the show. Kerry is such a light, literally such a light, you will see. She has taught both of us so much when it comes to the work that she does. And Kerry has a really unique mission in this world that I'm really excited to dive into further with her today. One of the things that she has created is called Divine Gaia Code. She's also a feminine activator, and she's just incredible. We're going to have so much fun in this conversation. I already know it. Kerry has a very deep connection to the earth, and Jess and I have been working with her kind of off and on in different capacities when it comes to her earth-based offerings. And if you guys tuned into our previous episode on the show, you'll know that we talked a lot about my experience with the earth and kind of my background there. So we're so excited to kind of elaborate on that from a whole new perspective with Kerry. I know she has just so much to share. So Kerry, welcome to the show.
Ladies, this is incredible. The podcast is incredible. I have been listening diligently. I'm really happy to be on. Thank you.
You're so welcome. We are so grateful to have you on the show and just so excited to dive into things with you today. Right out of the gate, we would love to know a little bit about your background. So how did you start when it comes to your work that you do with the planet and with Gaia? Like, what did that look like kind of at the very, very beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning, it just looks like I love to be in nature. And that's all I know, like that's the only resonance is just, I love nature. I want to be outside. I want to be engaging with nature. I want to be engaging with the elements. And this is stuff that I think we, to some extent can all relate to. But for me, it was like childhood and just really finding my way, returning to this planet once again and just remembering the magic that is here and the wonder and the awe that is here. The moment that we come earthside to our last breath on this planet, it just starts with being more aware and opening your heart to just seeing what this human experience is all about on this planet that is ever changing, ever evolving, just like us. So for me, it was really just like, I love to be in nature. I love sports. I love being outside. Like that's kind of what it was. To give you like a tangible, like crux moment, I would say a very quick story is when I really kind of noticed that this was what was happening with my energetic field and this planet was more vast than I could have previously comprehended or was really in my consciousness. It was when I was already on my spiritual awakening journey. So I was kind of in this remembrance beyond self-development, like really getting into soul journey work, I would say. And I went on a trip to Charleston, South Carolina for a business retreat, actually. And I had the wildest experience. It was my first time in Charleston. And basically I had this like land activation and this past life activation happening at the same time. And that's when I realized not only do we go certain places and are we guided certain places, but our soul has kind of like frequencies and codes that we get to pick up from our other parallel lives, past lives, whatever resonates for you, and what we need in that particular moment. So I could go down that whole story. We can absolutely go down it. But in short, like that, there's just little pockets that kind of dropped in deeper awareness of how I co-create with Gaia. And it's only just continued to evolve from there. But it really comes down to heart consciousness. And it really just comes down to choosing to be embodied here, choosing to be embodied and co-create with this planet. It's a choice. And that goes for all of us. It's just been a journey before I went into spiritual spirituality of sorts. And then kind of post awakening, it's been deeper.
Okay. So a beautiful share. Thank you. I'm really curious because you are so deeply connected with Gaia. And so for those listening, whenever we say Gaia, we're referring to the earth. And I would love to know like when she first came in for you as like one of your main guides. Like what was that experience like?
I love this question. So one of the first times I really tapped into this piece was actually during an intuitive reading that I was receiving in this dynamic. And this person was like, I just see you like this goddess, like this earth goddess, like literally walking the planet, like the globe with your feet, and like your feet doing this whole like light thing, like lightning almost. And I was like, huh. And then we went into this kind of like Akashic Records embodiment portion of the session. And I tapped into Gaia, and this huge, huge wave came up throughout my entire body, from my feet all the way through out the top of my head, the crown chakra. And this wave appeared to me as roses. It was a huge wave of roses. Like that's it. It wasn't a wave of water. It was a wave coming up my body of roses. And that's when I was like, I've never felt anything like that. And I've had multiple Akashic Records reading. At the time I had anyway, it was just like, what is this? What is this newfound frequency? And it really was a remembrance. It was a remembrance of this goddess expression of myself, walking this planet. And over time, you know, I've like delved into different pieces of this, but I think we're all fractals of Gaia. We're all fractals of Earth. And, you know, for a while I was like, Gaia is actually my oversoul. Like, what if she's my oversoul? It was kind of this whole thing, but you know, we ride these waves and we see how she communicates with us. So in general, I think it just was this potent moment of just feeling how she wants to intuitively connect with me. And for me, that was through my body and this clear knowing, and also clear seeing of these, like this huge wave of roses. And that's the most ancient flower on this planet. As you guys know, probably from just Sisterhood of the Rose, it's just an incredible flower, and says so much about our connection to this planet.
Wow. Okay. That is incredible. I resonate a lot with that piece of, you know, connecting to the earth and then seeing the rose. And I'm wondering, can you speak a little bit more to that in terms of what does the rose mean to you?
I love this so much because yes, and there's so much to share about this. For me, the rose, it is that like ancient wisdom. It's the ancient codex of this planet, which to me has everything to do with embodiment and everything to do with empowered embodiment and choosing to be here, choosing to really harness the choice that you chose to incarnate here versus the disassociation versus the like, beam me up, Scotty, versus the like, you know, it just, you know, all the various things. And I get that. And also like we have a beautiful soul contract with this planet, and beautiful plants like the rose can really connect us back to the deep remembrance of unconditional love on this planet that we get to choose to embody from a place of love and not from fear or disassociation or uncomfortability or, you know, insert whatever word, you know, it's part of the journey. And also the way of the rose is just that continuous devotion to that empowered embodiment to me.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I love that the conversation just organically went there because we knew that you had a profound connection to the rose. And it's just, you know, with the name of the podcast and everything, we were like, Kerry has to be on. Like, we have to have her as a guest. And so that was such a beautiful share. And you've mentioned a few times just like the choosing of being here, right? And like, I guess for that, are you talking more about, you know, just like the presence in this incarnation or like commitment to mission? Or can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on that? I'm curious.
Yes. And I think it's both. That choice is, it's just, to me, it's like here on this planet, we have free will. And in that free will comes that empowered choice to choose what we take grounded action on from that free will place. And so I think the power of choice is paramount in this human experience in terms of us feeling like we are the creators of our lives and this planet and new earth. And so I think it is, yes, it's presencing, but I also think it's presencing and it's also choosing to, I guess with the presencing, like really be here now, especially in the spiritual space. We can get so pulled into healing the quote unquote past and or assessing the future, channeling the future. And that really takes us out of the life force energy that's available to us now, that we can ground in now. And that's actually through a choice. And with everything going on in our world, we can get distracted. We can get, all the things can happen. And we can even distract ourselves and self-sabotage ourselves with cycles of healing and always churning through so many rebirths and not actually being reborn. If we really go through the cycle of rebirth to death, to rebirth to death, there is no like, I'm out of the birth canal and I'm breathing and I'm living and I'm growing and expanding outside of the birth. Where's the harvest? Where's the summer? And so for me, I found myself in just a constant state of like spring, winter, spring, winter, spring, winter, maybe a little bit of summer, a little bit of fall, but like not really completing the cycles. Choosing to be in the present moment, choosing to ground in your life force energy now allows your power of choice to be even more potent and allows you to actually create and manifest the life that you truly desire with limitless possibilities and actually believe that that is true and available to you.
Wow. Okay. I love this. Also, I think this would be a great time to kind of wrap in some of what you actually do in your business and kind of how you embody some of these things that you've shared through your offerings or through your work with clients. So how does all of this look in kind of the more tangible sense?
Totally. I think I'm a manifesting generator. So there's like multifaceted things within my business that allow my multifaceted mission to kind of unfold. In general, we've got like pockets of divine feminine embodiment through connecting with this planet, connecting with the ultimate divine feminine expression, which is to me this planet, and allowing people to see that their unique connection, really being a guide for people to realize their own energetic field codex frequency and how that truly resonates for them with their unique mission, their unique light, their unique connection with, and really soul contract with Mother Earth, with Gaia. I have Gaia's Gateway, and just even my one-on-one sessions usually always weave in some sort of energetic activation, which do correlate with grounding in their light to really allow themselves to see and witness their potency, their medicine, their magic. Because if we don't see that ourselves, we're going to be seeking others to see something from us, even though we don't fully know what that is. So really just being a guide for people. And we all need guides. We all need aligned support in this life to remember, to guide us to our highest path and our highest expression of that inner light, if you will.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And you do an amazing job at it, just speaking from experience.
Thank you, Jess.
So what I really want to know a little bit more about too is the concept of gridworking, because this is something, Lily and I have both learned a lot about gridworking from you, and we were in your container, Gaia's Gateway, which is all around gridworking. But just so for those listening, because I think this is kind of a newer concept to some people, it's like, what is gridworking and what can that look like?
I love this question. And it's something I'm very passionate about. And also rein me in if you need me to, ladies, because I will jet off in a gazillion directions. So rein me in. But to me, gridworking, again, is really coming back into your heart, coming back specifically into your body to consciously connect with nature, the elements, this planet, specific locations. You don't have to go to a well-known vortex to receive energetic frequencies from this planet. You don't need to like you will be guided, but the point is really to just be so present with your immediate environment. If that's going out in your backyard and just connecting with the air, if you don't have any plants, it's okay. You are still connecting with an aspect of, even if when you light a candle, you're still connecting with an aspect of the elements in our human experience, which is connecting with nature, the elements of nature. And when we do that, we connect with the elements within ourselves. We connect with our inner nature, I guess. And so gridworking is consciously connecting with that nature and then eventually kind of moving into connecting with particular spots and locations on this planet that you are intuitively guided to, that you're led to. And in that happening, even if it is just where you live, your home, you are kind of having this beautiful exchange of frequencies between Gaia and your light body, your auric field. There's kind of this co-creative exchange happening of she's giving you frequencies of unconditional love that are for your highest and best to receive in your ascension journey, just in what may be best for you to receive, to allow in more unconditional love from her and from everyone else. And then you just, without even being aware of it, without even being fully conscious, just your feet on this planet is directly funneling in specific light codes that only you hold, truly, only you hold. That's also kind of being almost watering the soil of Gaia in this kind of exchange. So really, it's just an exchange of light, and you don't even need to be conscious of it. It becomes a lot cooler when you're a little bit conscious of it, because it expands your awareness of like, I chose to be here, and wow, I'm now like opening up these like energetic libraries within myself and within the planet. And that allows us to access more of our own wisdom, access the records of this planet, access records of the all, etc.
Yeah, wow. Gridworking is just so vast, and I think it's so specific to the individual too. And that's something that I've learned from you, is that gridworking can feel and look different for each person. There's a lot of specificity when it comes to each person's codex, as you've shared before. And I'm wondering for you specifically, so I know you just moved to Portugal, and I know that that is a really big gridworking mission for you in many ways, along with, I'm sure, many other kind of facets of personal life, all of that. But I'm wondering, if you feel available to share with us a little bit around your recent move?
Totally. I love this because I feel like I could also talk about Portugal for quite some time. So Rain Man again. But really, it's just been incredible. Portugal is this like magical vortex. It really feels like that to me. Lisbon, specifically where I live, has these vibrant frequencies of empowerment, passion, and power. I don't know how else to explain it. It feels like the land and the water, the Tagus River that runs through, and the Atlantic Ocean, just kind of like they hold and kind of like caress this part of Portugal. And there's something really special about this grid that has those frequencies that I just mentioned, that has brought those frequencies into my life. And there's just so much wonder. It's like, it really is like the plants are speaking. The air is speaking. The water is speaking. And yes, we can go many beautiful places on this planet where obviously it happens everywhere if you're really listening. But for me, I'm just like, this is so potent. And, she called me here. She called me here for many reasons. And I've truly never been happier in my life. And I know a big part of that is because of this grid. And when I say grid, this land and the water kind of Portugal, let's just say, can hold me, like can hold my energy, can hold my life force, can hold all of me. And all these wonderful, beautiful people that live here as well, but really feeling held and feeling I'm already held with where I'm at, and I'm held in all of the expansive ways that I know are going to be expanding in my life. And so when I say held, like it's just a feeling. And I've been other places. I've lived many, many places in the US, and it's held me in different ways, of course, but I feel like maybe even just looking back and reflecting, I haven't truly felt like the grid. It's almost like if these were like power grids, like I feel like I got like a voltage upgrade to like mega capacity, and I can fully create and like funnel through all of my circuitry to like lightning bolt in all of the things that I'm meant to channel onto this planet. And other places that I've lived, it's kind of like it holds me maybe in like the love aspect of my life really deeply, or it holds me really deeply in my family aspect very deeply. But I haven't fully experienced a place that can literally energetically hold the circuitry of my entire light body being fully embodied and grounded into that grid to fully kind of like circuit through some of those creations. It feels like a different frequency power grid, which I love.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was just getting like the most massive chills as you were talking. And when you were sharing those specific frequencies of the grid, I was like, that's Kerry. Like those frequencies are Kerry. And then you were like, yeah, and that's me too. And I was like, yeah, like I'm so excited for you and intrigued by this whole move that you've done. And thank you for sharing it. I was getting teary-eyed and just chills massively for you, just because it's just so special to see someone just fully lit up and beaming in the way that you are, and that I know that, you know, Portugal has initiated you into more of that. So that's just so beautiful to see. Are there any details that you'd like to share around kind of like your grid working experience, or just experience in general with Portugal? I know you've only been there, well, you can share this, but I don't think very long, just a couple of months. So I know it's kind of still new for you.
Yeah, I've been here 2 months, and I actually have a perfect story that will actually go back to the rose. But there is a place here in Portugal called Sintra. It's more of the well-known spiritual land portals in Portugal. And I was actually in Sintra, not after I moved here, but actually before in the fall. And I was touring this castle. It's an incredible castle. I had like all of this stuff come through around me and my future daughter inside of this castle as I'm doing, a very like human tour with a whole like tour guide. I'm having this like entire intuitive activation thing within this castle. But what I think is interesting is on the outside of the castle, I should send you gals these photos, but on the outside of the castle, when I walked up, I immediately noticed this. The kind of threshold doorway to the doorways of the castle, there were 3 roses in cement. 1, 2, 3. And I'm staring at these and I'm like, oh my God, the way of the rose. And it is said that roses were put above sacred spaces in ancient times. I think it actually started in Greece, I believe. But either through a rose garden on top of a building or rose, in rose inscriptions in the cement, whatever depiction of the rose, it was always above the door or literally physically above the ceiling of coveted safe havens for light workers, let's say, ancient wisdom keepers, to have heart-centered, soulful conversations, change-making decisions, communities, etc., around changing this planet in ways that really fortify unconditional love. And so seeing these roses, I was like, okay, wow, like this is sacred. This is so sacred. And I wonder what energetically transpired in that space in particular in Sintra, but it's something I pay attention to now whenever I see roses above doorways, which I start to see, of course. You start seeing them as soon as you're a little bit more conscious. But that has always stuck with me of just, the way of the rose is also multifaceted. It really, in that embodiment, that devotion comes with this sacred unity, but also reverence for who can hold and kind of meet you in these frequencies, transmissions, conversations, etc. So yeah, a lot of wisdom with the rose, and it's for millennia. It's wild.
Wow. I'm honestly just like like how much it keeps coming back to the rose is like so beautiful to me, and it's just so it's so fascinating because like Lily and I, like we didn't choose the name of our podcast. We always say the name of our podcast chose us. Like truly. There was like when it came forward for us, we were both like, I don't know if we're worthy of that. Like we had like a whole thing. We went through a while, like it was a few months before we were like, okay, give us some more signs. And of course there were roses just surrounding us everywhere. And the rose for me personally has been something that's been coming up like more and more deeply. And it's just like energetically, I feel like anytime I connect to the rose, and I also have a rose oracle deck that Lily actually gifted me for my birthday, it's pure magic. And anytime I connect to it, it's just this immediate feeling of like I'm home, and like also just like releasing everything and like just coming back to that like feeling of love that I feel like you keep mentioning. And so I'm curious a little bit more. It sounds like the rose has come up for you in many ways. Are there ways that you connect with the rose? Just like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I love this. It absolutely, by the way, the name absolutely chose this podcast as you two as the hosts to be the stewards of said podcast for so many reasons. And it's going to be so beautiful to continue to like witness the unfolding of the rose for both of you in your lives and also in this podcast, which is going to just really resonate with so many people who are kind of ready for this, ready for these kinds of conversations and ready for the frequencies that you guys bring. So very excited about that. So I love to connect with the rose, like energetically, yes, but like in my physical environment. So I actually rarely purchased roses. Like in general, I don't usually get roses, but I love like very natural, clean rose lotion and like anything like rose chapstick that I know is fully clean and natural and what have you. Love. I love rose water spray. I love rose candles. I like am very conscientious and kind of selective on like what I put on my body, but usually anything I put on my body, it has natural rose somehow. And that's really how I connect with the essence of the rose. By the way, Lily, there is a wonderful Idaho lady who has these incredible Bulgarian rose lotions and stuff. So I'll have to send that to you, or you guys can put it in there. So that's a beautiful way that I just like to connect with it. And in doing that, like as I just like gently put the lotion on my hands before bed at night, like I will connect with the smell. I will connect with how my body feels with having this luxurious moment on my skin. And especially before bed, like the rose helps me feel protected. Like that rose lotion on my hands and I rub it on my wrists. And it's just like, if I want to close up shop on my crown chakra and just like be in my body for the night and get a really good sleep, like I can do that. But the rose in general allows me to just feel like I am in control of my nighttime rest. So rose can be incredible. The last thing I'll say around just connecting with it is there's rose kind of like flower infusions that you can get that are incredible. And there's one other thing, but it's escaping me. Either way, I like to keep it in my physical environment aside from actually purchasing roses. And that allows me to kind of feel into what does the rose want to share with me in that moment. Again, it's coming back to like presencing whatever it is as I'm putting that lotion on my hands. What am I sensing? What am I feeling within me? How do I feel like that's connecting with Gaia? And it can be that simple.
Okay, I definitely need this Bulgarian rose lady in my life. So please share that with me. I don't know if that's nearby or maybe something I would have to ship, but we'll see. I'm excited for that. And yeah, I'm similar. I love rose spray. Like I love rose spray. I've been using that. And it's interesting that you said with the rose about protection, because for me, I never really thought of the rose in that way. However, I did this tantric kind of practice kind of randomly one night, and it kind of, it was like an hour long thing, and you kind of like set up a sacred space, and the facilitator, the woman who was facilitating it, was sharing with us to like energetically put kind of 4 roses on each corner of our space, and then have like 4 above us, so that created kind of like a box around us, like for protection. And then you said it again here, so I feel like there's definitely something there in terms of the energetics of the rose and what it likes to do for people. So that was really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. So you were talking about walking the planet. I know you've gone so many places and I know you've really explored the world in so many ways. Is there anything that you want to share with people who maybe feel similarly in terms of, that call to explore, and kind of what would you share with them in terms of, I know you can't like give people recommendations on where to go per se, but if there's any places that you feel are really important for us and potent right now on the planet, I think that would be really fun to hear.
Totally. I could geek out on this, as you gals know. And I really do think places are really stepping forward into people's awareness now more than ever. And if that's like a wedding invite to an international country, if that is, it'll be pretty obvious. Either a place that you have always wanted to go to, but you've kind of been putting off, or like, okay, that's bucket list, or okay, that's dream, whatever. It's like, it's coming for a reason, and it has been coming for a reason. And if you decide to kind of make that a priority, the universe will conspire to allow that to happen. So I would first of all just say, like, if you're getting pings, it's for a reason, truly, to go somewhere. Then, of course, I really feel strongly that Egypt is, if anyone has a ping, if you've had Egyptian past lives or not, like Egypt is the throat chakra of the planet. So they say. I do believe that as well. And there's a lot of throat chakra activations happening for everyone in their ascension journeys right now. So to me, Egypt would be one of those more, I don't know, it's almost just like sometimes when I either focus on the chakra vortices of the planet or just certain areas, it'll show up kind of as like a traffic light, like red, yellow, green. And like when I tune into like the collective and I tune into Egypt, it's like green, 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 green. It's like whoever is ready, come hither and receive. I know there's a lot of things going on, in that part of the world, which, may not allow people to feel fully safe to, explore that right now. And that's totally fine. There are ways, of course, to energetically receive exactly what you need without physically having to go there. But I would say Egypt is quite up there right now. And oddly enough, Mexico has also, for those who resonate, if it is Tulum, it's Tulum, but I have not been to Tulum. Mexico as a whole, though, just has such an incredible energetic library that can be accessed. And I also think that there's some very unique kind of authenticity codes, I want to say, in Mexico right now. That's not maybe the best word. Just top two, I would say Egypt and Mexico right now. But as you two know, Gaia is shifting so quickly, we're shifting so quickly, that wherever you are uniquely guided is exactly where you are meant to be and to go. And so if you start anywhere, I would truly just start with what you know is in your heart, from a location standpoint first. And then if you have time and space and resources to explore anywhere else, you're also going to be receiving. But Egypt and Mexico would be my top ones right now for the collective.
Okay, that was beautiful. I'm like, okay, I have pings I need to listen to. And then also, I did go to Mexico a few months ago, and I was an hour outside of Tulum. And it is some good vibes, let me tell you. It felt really, really good. I came back from that trip and I was like, I was telling Lily, I was like, that trip was so invigorating for me. So
Yeah.
it's like when you were talking about that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. It's very palpable. So, okay, Egypt and Mexico, we're all going.
Yes.
Okay, there's one more thing that I really want to it's kind of from, we were talking about it previously, but I really want to ask you about it. And it's in relation to the elements, because I feel like, of course, the very natural way to connect with Gaia is by going outside. But you mentioned, I feel like this is almost more specific in the way to connect with her in different ways is through the elements. And you've mentioned it and touched on it a few times. I would love to know, what is the element that you feel most connected to, and what does that bring out in you?
Wow. Beautiful question, Jess. Okay. So immediately my heart goes to it's funny. I'm a Sagittarius sun, which is the fire element in astrology, and I am a Libra rising and an Aquarius moon. So both air for my moon and my rising sign. So I've joked for so many years that I'm basically a hot air balloon because I have fire and air and I just float and flit about. And I do have quite a few planets in Capricorn, which grounds me a little bit. I have a little bit of water, but not much. But it's like, I literally can just become a hot air balloon and just like fire it up, lower it down, enjoy the air. But I have to be very conscientious around my grounding elements, let's just say. So with that being said, it's probably more natural for me to say fire and air. I love the element of fire. And I think it can be anything from a flickering candle flame that's just gentle, it's illuminating, to a lantern, to a lighthouse, to a bonfire, to a raging forest fire. It can be purifying, destructive, it can be transmutative, it can be purifying, but it also truly, in its most gentle state, it's illuminating. And I think that's where I just really love harnessing the fire element in my life because of what that represents to me. And so I would probably say fire. But I've got a soft spot for all of them. I really do. I have a soft spot for all of them. Yeah. And that like you can get so creative with the elements that you do resonate with. Just to touch on air real quick, it's like sometimes I do my most quote unquote, potent grid working when I'm on a plane, when I'm literally in the air, like on the air grids and at airports, which are like have their energetic web tied to all these different cities. That to me is actually, yes, it could go in through the earth, but to me, when I'm at an airport hub, it's like, I got to send this over to San Diego. I got to send this over to like Canada's and I'm just like dropping these like little light codexes, usually when I'm at airports, and can get like, time and space to be in my own auric field. But airplanes, I can really sense a lot moving in the clouds, AKA in the wind, in the momentum of the plane. Literally, it's like almost like instead of the plane having exhaust, I envision that the plane is kind of pummeling out energetic frequencies into the air grids that are from unconditional love and are of the highest frequency for that to dissipate into those exact wherever we are on the plane map. It's going to really trickle down. And then that's the air that we breathe. That is the air that we co-create with. That is the breath. That's the breath of life that those wonderful beings, plants, animals are kind of co-creating with in that particular spot. So it's fun to just play around. Like that's kind of what it is for me. And yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that you can grid work. Even just going back to rose stuff. Today, I actually happened to walk through a rose garden, didn't even know it was there. And I was like, oh, it's perfect for my interview day on their podcast. But I was thinking to myself, roses are kind of like, I guess any flower, but roses and trees, they're in the ground. They're literally in the ground. And for trees, they're truly connected through their root system and they nourish each other. When one tree is feeling malnourished or is actually starting to maybe like decay, like other trees neighboring by will like funnel life force resources, nutrients to that tree to see if it can sustain itself. And that's just kind of like very, very, very basic level stuff. But just playing around with like even more of the grounding elements, quote unquote, like a tree, like some of these flowers, more of the earth realm things we can all circle back to in our own ways, which is kind of fun and very cool.
Yeah. So the tree thing, I just want to, for the listeners, that's very real, like scientifically real, not just on like a spiritual sense. Like it is in terms of trees nourishing each other and being connected through the root system. And I always thought that was just so magical. Also, about the plane, I always get big aha moments when I'm flying. Like one time I was flying and I started writing poetry and I'm like, I've never written poetry ever, but here we are on a plane and weird things are happening. I like the plane point that you made. And that's something that, if you fly ever, you can definitely just open up your awareness to it. It's not like you have to be like sitting in like perfect meditation for 4.5 hours, but it just kind of happens. And okay, one other thing I wanted to say about the fire element was I feel really similarly about the fire element, especially when I was young. So I remember like being super intrigued by the fire element. Like I'd like want to like light fires all the time. And it like very much worried my parents because they were like, why are you doing this? But it was just so intriguing to me. Like that's like the biggest that's really the only thing that I can say is that it was just like something about it was just it's very hypnotic, it's very powerful and beautiful. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that I really resonate with what you shared around those elemental aspects of nature. So, before we wrap up, I think it would be great to share with the audience a little bit about next steps for you. So, like, where are you heading? What is kind of on your horizon? What is Kerry moving into in the next couple of months? And if there's no plans, great. But just wanted to open space for that.
Thank you, Lily. Yeah, I think there is a lot happening in the Kerryverse. There's a lot happening, but there always is. It could be my manifesting generator self where I just feel like I'm constantly evolving. And before I used to kind of judge it as like, why am I always pivoting? Why am I always changing? Why am I blah, 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 blah? And now I've just learned to like really embrace it. So while I have a general idea of what's coming, in May and June, I know I'm just also staying open to seeing what unfolds. But with that being said, so I'm going to be channeling through quite a bit of like digital offerings in a sense. So a lot of my Divine Gaia Codes stuff is finally going to be put into like self-paced energetic receiving codex situation library. So that's going to be channeled through in the month of May. I've got 2 gridworking courses coming, launching very soon. They're all self-paced, so it's kind of just like a great way for people to just tap in and just get to know what that is for themselves. And then I'm going to be venturing more, dipping my toes and my feet more into the twin flame divine counterpart conversation in the spiritual space, mostly specifically from a gridworking perspective, but maybe that can of worms will open up into more than just the gridworking perspective in the twin flame journey. I'm not quite sure. So there's that. I have some travel coming up this summer. So I'm trying to just kind of create what wants to move through over the next couple of weeks, have that in full creation launch mode. But in general, Gaia's Gateway is here. My one-on-one stuff is still here. From a personal perspective, it's really just continuing to ground into Portugal, so much exploring. And then I am going to be back in the States once again for about 3 weeks in June. So I've got some weddings and beautiful, wonderful places to visit that I'm not complaining about. So yeah, I'm trying to think of anything that's like somewhat cool to share about what's ahead, but I think it's mostly just really creating this very interesting, fascinating life for myself in Portugal that I still have to I've literally entered and created a whole new world. I don't know how else to say it. And with that comes a lot of excitement for what's ahead, even though I don't fully specifically know all that is. So yeah, I know my future daughter's coming in hot, so we'll see when she wants to make her appearance. Not in any rush on that. And we'll just see. So it's kind of like a rumination of a lot of things in the sense of, I know motherhood's coming, a lot of womb activations from a personal perspective, and just in my own remembrance journey right now, a lot of womb, throat, heart, womb stuff happening, just kind of riding that wave personally and in my business and with Gaia, of course, for sure, because that's kind of a whole other thing. Is just like truly the only constant on this planet is change. And we're changing so quickly. She is changing so quickly that I'm very curious how the rest of the year is going to go. I cannot believe we're, from a linear time perspective, at the end of April, but 2024 is going to get even juicier. So that's a little bit about my world. I hope that may not even be at all interesting, but that's generally kind of what's going down.
It is so interesting. Your life is so fascinating to me because Lily kind of touched on it earlier, but you are like a world traveler. And I find that so fascinating. Just the fact that, I mean, we didn't really go into it today, but just the fact that you moved to Portugal. I mean, you moved there by yourself, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I've moved many places by myself. This was the wildest. Yeah.
And then like I was going to like as you were talking about all of that, I was like, oh my God, we didn't even ask her what that journey was like of being there alone. I mean, it sounds like you're totally comfortable in it, but
I mean, it's a journey. And that's the thing. It's like when you really heed the call in whatever way that looks like for you, if that's a trip, if that's just being at home and really maybe just like tending to your environment, however that is, if that's garden or if that's just like having a space for you to just be out in nature. When you really start heeding that call, it just unfolds. Life really does unfold on the macro and the micro levels, for sure.
so beautifully said. Just having you on and just being in your energy, Kerry, it is like it's such a light. Like just being in your energy is like receiving. Like I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm receiving so much truly just from being around you and in your field. So thank you so much for being here today. I know like it was so special for Lily and I to have you on. And where can people find you? Let our listeners know.
First of all, ladies, I mean, I said it before, but just like you've got a really beautiful thing going on, truly. And I'm so proud of both of you, Jess and Lily, because it's just what a remarkable creation. And it's just the beginning. And that's what's so cool. It's just the beginning of just this piece of both of your journeys together and as individuals. So just like, it's just incredible. And the conversations that you're going to be bringing forth are needed. They're actually needed. And you guys heeded the call, you know? And so now it's going to all show up in its own way of how this is going to impact the planet, the people that listen, and just your own energetic fields for sure. So mega, mega, mega kudos and honoring both of you deeply. Yeah. So yeah, kerryferber.com. It's my website. You can sign up for my newsletter to stay connected. It's probably the best way. I do have intentions of, maybe getting my YouTube up and going. So we'll see, but I am on YouTube. For now, there's not any relevant recent things, but definitely some relevant past things on there. And Instagram, just kerry.ferber. And I'm just one of many. You two are two others. Like we're all just guiding each other into certain pieces of our souls, of truly like coming home to ourselves on this planet. And so we're all doing the damn thing,
Thank you so much for that, Kerry. And we are just so grateful. I can't say it enough. So thank you, thank you, thank you. For listeners, we're going to put all of Kerry's information in the show notes. And who knows, maybe we'll have her on again. We'll see. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Lots of love.